Hope all of you are doing well. My name is Shriya Bansal and I'm currently working as a software engineer at Microsoft, and I'm also an educator at Level. So in this video, what we are going to do is we are going to talk about the third type of queries that can be done on our DBMS databases, which is DCL, which stands for Data Control Language. Now these commands basically include two commands in itself, which is grant and revoke, which is basically provided or used to give rights and permissions to different users in the database. Other permission control parameters of the database system. Okay, so now what happens is whenever you're dealing with databases, right, you may not want everyone to have access to all the tables and all the databases inside the RDBMS system, right? It may so happen sometimes that you want a certain set of users to be able to check and see at some commands or some tables, whereas other users may not want to be able to see that. For example, let's say if you have a school kind of a database, you want the principal to be able to look at all the details for all the students, for all the teachers, right? But you may not want the teachers or the students to be able to look at teacher details, or you may not want the teachers to be able to have some access in the tables wherein there is the payment information stored for the students, right? So you may want to kind of suggest some kind of differences, right? Some kind of level of access which is to be granted to a particular user. And that is what in these situations the DCL commands comes very handy. So in DCL commands, we basically have two types of commands. We have grant and we have revoke. So as you can see from the very word itself, right, grant means to grant the access, and sometimes it may happen that you gave some access to a particular user, but now you don't want them to have the access anymore. So in that cases, you revoke the particular access. Okay, so let's quickly take a look at both of these commands one by one. Now in grant command, what basically happens is it is used to give user access privileges to the databases. Now, even on a table, there can be multiple different types of accesses that can be given. For example, you may want the user to be able to create a table, okay, or not. You may just want the user to be able to select, or to try to look into the table, right? You don't want the user to be able to, let's say, create a table or update the table, right? So I am just, let's say, as a person is allowed to see what data is present in the table, but I am not allowed to update any data in the table. Neither am I allowed to create a new table of my own. So like I said, on a certain table also you can provide like a certain amount of access that you want to do. For example, let's say you want the user to be able to allow the user to create a table. Now you want the user to be able to do that. So you do grant. Okay, you want to grant some access. What access do you want to provide? It is the create access. Okay, for the table, okay, whatever table you want to mention, to the username. So here you mention the username. Okay, so you can also see that on the tables I want to provide grant, let's say select on the users table to Tom. Okay, Tom at the rate localhost is basically like the configuration for that person, but that is how you can provide the access. Okay, here the select access is provided. Here you can say that you are just providing the create access, or the better way to write this is, let's say, on table name to a particular user. Okay, let's say it may so happen as well that in the grant you want to provide all privileges. Grant all privileges to a user. So what do you do in that case is you put grant, okay, and then to provide, it is the create access. Okay, for the happens is the moment you use this particular keyword, it is basically a set of privileges which has all the permissions in it. So this is a privilege which has all types of permissions in it. So if you want to provide this, right, you can simply do this, and the user will literally have all the possible kind of accesses which are there. Okay, so that is how you can do. You can also, like, you can give the access to grant, let's say to delete a table also, or a drop a table access also. And let's say you want the user to be able to drop any table, so you do grant, you do drop. Since the user will be able to drop any table, you write any, you write table, you write to, and then you write username. Okay, and in this way the user will be able to drop any table they want. All right, that is what the grant access basically is. And you can provide like multiple users here as well. So here you can also do this, like username 1, username 2. Okay, so it's not just you have to, if let's say you have to give access to 10 people, okay, you don't have to go line by line, okay, and like write 10 queries. No, you can give in a single line, comma separated, all the access as well, provided the same kind of access is required. Okay, and the second one we have is revoke. Now revoke is used to take back the permission which was rather provided. So you can see in the example, let's say I want to revoke the select and the update access on the student table from the people BCA and MCA. So the people whose username are BCA and MCA will no longer be able to do the select and the update operation on the select table. Okay, so the next one that we have over here is revoke. Okay, so what happens is on revoke, you basically, let's say, want to revoke the create table access, okay, from a certain username. Okay, that is one kind of access. The second that we saw an example for revoke was that I want to revoke specific access of select and update on a specific table student, right? And it is going to be taken from a user, or I can take it from a set of user as well. Okay, so there are many kind of accesses which can be provided. Let's say you want the able to create and let's say, you know, delete on all type of tables, or you want it on a certain table, right? All of it is basically possible to be done in databases and RDBMS databases. And grant and revoke commands comes extremely handy in situations like these. Okay, trust me, you might feel that you will not use grant and revoke commands very frequently, and that is true as well. You might not really do that, but always remember that grant and revoke commands are very, very crucial for your understanding, because they actually try to provide security. Okay, so the reason why we study DCL command is because they ensure safety of the database. Okay, what if someone comes up in future and just tries to delete your entire database just so because there was no level of access provided on tables and on databases, right? That is what EF Cod told in his 12 and 13 rules as well, right? That if you have a database, you should have powerful structured languages which not only helps you to do manipulation and access or get access to the data, but they actually ensure safety of the databases as well. So DCL commands are those commands which takes care of ensuring safety of the databases and taking care of the fact that whatever information that you are storing inside the databases, it is well groomed and it has certain level of access. So using grant and revoke commands, you can define as many layers of access you want. Okay, now that is always on the basis of your use case, and different organizations, different RDBMS users try to define these accesses based on their own organization understanding. Okay, and there's no one defined way rule of defining those layers of access. But yes, again, pretty much the idea remains the same, that these commands are very, very important and they give you good insights about in safety of the databases. Okay. So now that we've completed both the two commands, I would recommend now go ahead and try out a few examples on your own, right? See how it is basically working for you, and are you able to perform these commands or not. Try to, try to say and work on different examples where, let's say, you are giving access on all the tables. Sometimes you are just granting access on a specific table. What all accesses you are going on a specific table, to what all users you are giving those accesses. And then similarly, try out the revoke one as well. Okay. And once you have a clear understanding, then only move to the next video. So far, what we have done now is we have talked about 3 types of commands. We have talked about the DDL command, we have talked about the DML command, and along with that, now we are covered with DCL command as well. Okay, so make sure as in you progress, as in when you are making progress in the videos, you're actually making sure that the previous videos are absolutely clear, and then only, you are moving on to the very next part. So it will also help you to make sure and ensure that you are absolutely clear on how this process needs to be done as well. Okay. So now that we're done with this, next we are going to move ahead and talk about the TCL commands, right? How do TCL commands work? What all is included in the TCL commands, right? And how much examples can we see to work on that? Okay, so keep practicing. Make sure you try out a few examples, create a database on your own, create some tables, try to provide accesses on those, because the overall objective is to become comfortable with the syntax. If you're comfortable with the syntax, trust me, you've actually gone through half of the journey already, right? Because syntax is something that you need to keep in mind. You don't have to remember all the syntaxes, but you have to make sure that when you're reading through the syntaxes, the overall idea is very clear, so that even for small queries, you don't have to refer the internet again and again. All right, perfect. Okay then, thank you guys, thank you so much for attending this video, and I will meet you in the next one.